Hey everyone, welcome back. Today we're going to be doing a deep dive into something I think a lot of you will be interested in.
Yeah.
Vocal practice for consistent singing. Build a reliable voice.
Ooh,
This
interesting.
is for singers out there,
Oh,
or anyone really who's, interested in really
mm-hmm.
taking their voice to the next level. And I think what's so fascinating about this piece is that
Yeah.
it dives into this concept of building muscle memory, which is something we always hear about, like athletes, right?
Absolutely.
But we don't always think about our voices in that way.
Right. It's fascinating how it relates to singing. Like building that muscle memory
Mm-hmm.
can almost create an autopilot for your voice.
Yeah, so it's like even if you're feeling under the weather,
Yes.
you can still hit those high notes.
Yeah, exactly. Like some
Yeah.
days you wake up and your voice is just on fire, and other days it's like, what is going on?
Totally. I mean, we can't always control those external factors, right? Like
Right.
sleep, hydration, all
Yeah.
that.
Absolutely. Those all play a huge role.
But this source is really emphasizing that it's building that solid vocal foundation
Mm.
that can help us overcome some of those inconsistencies.
Yes. And that's where muscle memory becomes so crucial.
Let's think, but
It's about training your vocal cords to perform consistently
yeah.
without you having to overthink every single note.
So you're not like up there on stage, like thinking
Correct.
about every little thing. Yeah,
Yeah.
So how do we actually build this, vocal autopilot?
Well, the source suggests it all starts with warming up,
Okay.
but not just any warm up.
Right.
It's about warming up with purpose.
So there's a strategy to it.
Absolutely. The source recommends starting with some humming exercises,
Okay, so this is
just to gently wake up those vocal cords.
more targeted than just like
Yeah.
singing some scales or
Yeah.
something.
It's about activating those muscles in a very specific way.
Got it.
Then it recommends moving on to lip trills
Lip trills. Okay.
to really engage your breath support.
So we're like setting ourselves up for success
Yes.
from the beginning of the practice.
From the very start, you're building that strong foundation.
Okay, so targeted warm-ups, step one.
Exactly.
What comes next?
Repetition, repetition, repetition. The source talks about a specific technique called vowel modification.
Vowel modification. I feel like I've heard of that, but
Yeah.
I need a refresher.
It's basically about adjusting your vowels on higher notes to maintain that resonance.
Oh.
It can be a bit tricky at first, but the more you practice, the more natural it becomes.
So it's like training?
It's like you're teaching your vocal cords
Yeah.
how to hit those high notes with both power and clarity.
That's a game changer, especially for those high intensity songs.
Yeah, those big belty anthems, you know?
Right. But,
Yeah.
when we're repeating things, is it just about mindlessly doing the exercises?
That's a good point. And the source actually highlights
Yeah.
the importance of recording yourself during practice.
Ooh, recording? See, now that makes me a little...
I know, it could be scary.
Real-
Why?
Yeah, like, I'm always way too self-critical
I understand.
when I hear myself back.
But think of it this way. It's like having your own vocal coach,
Okay.
providing instant feedback. It allows you to spot those subtle inconsistencies that you might not catch otherwise.
So it's like having a mirror.
Exactly.
Your voice.
You can hear if your pitch is wavering,
Yes.
if your breath support is lacking, all of that.
Okay, so it's less about the, oh, I sound terrible,
Right.
and more about analyzing the technique.
It's about objective self-assessment.
Okay, that makes recording
Mhm.
a lot less scary and more like,
It's a tool.
useful tool.
Yes, a powerful tool for growth. But remember, the source also cautions against getting bogged down in overthinking.
Yeah.
It recommends focusing on one specific area for improvement at a time.
So if I'm struggling with breath control, I should just focus on that
Exactly.
and not try to fix like everything else at once.
Yeah. Don't try to do too much at once. You'll get overwhelmed.
Oh, okay.
Focus on one thing at a time and you'll make more progress. It's like when you finally learn to ride a bike without training wheels.
Oh, I get it. Like that feeling of
Yeah.
freedom.
That feeling of liberation and exhilaration.
Yeah.
That's what consistent singing can bring to your voice. Like
Yeah.
that performance where I finally nailed that aria.
Yes.
I was so nervous beforehand,
Right.
but then all that practice just kicked in. It was
Yeah.
like my voice was on autopilot.
Wow. It's like everything just clicked.
Everything fell into place.
Yeah.
And that brings us to another crucial point.
Yeah.
Trusting your training when it's time to perform.
So it's one thing to nail it in practice.
Exactly.
But then there's this whole other mental game
Yes.
when you're on stage or in recording booth.
It's about finding that balance between structured practice and letting go during performance.
Yeah.
That's what the source emphasizes.
So we're switching gears from the technical
It's not just
to the emotional, right?
It's about conveying the emotion of the song.
And I think what's great is that this source doesn't just talk about consistency in terms of, hitting the notes.
Right. It goes beyond that.
Right. It actually mentions all these other benefits
Yes.
of consistent practice.
There are so many perks to being a consistent singer.
Yeah. Tell me more about those.
Well, for example, have you noticed that when you practice consistently, your voice actually sounds richer and more expressive?
I have noticed that.
It's like your voice becomes this well-oiled machine
It's true.
that can handle all the nuances and emotions of a song.
And I also feel like I have more stamina.
Oh, absolutely.
Wow.
Stamina is a huge benefit.
I can sing for longer periods without getting tired.
That's because you're building strength and endurance in those vocal cords.
Yeah.
It's like a workout for your voice.
So it's less strain and more enjoyment, right?
Both in practice and performance, it becomes more effortless and fun.
And I have to say, I feel way more confident.
Confidence is key.
I'm now too.
Absolutely. Imagine stepping on stage or into the recording booth and just knowing that your voice will be there for you.
You're not second-guessing yourself.
No fear, no hesitation, just pure confidence and expression.
That's incredible.
That's the power of consistent practice. It unlocks your full vocal potential.
So to recap, so far we've learned about targeted warm-ups, right?
Yes. Humming, lip trills, those are your go-tos.
Vowel modification, which is a technique we need to
We might dive a little deeper into that later.
come back to. Yeah, recording ourselves, which I'm starting to warm up to.
It's a game changer, trust me.
And then finding that balance between structure and letting go.
Right. Finding that sweet spot between technical proficiency and emotional expression.
And then, of course, all the amazing benefits that we just discussed. Richer tone,
Yes.
stamina, reduced strain, more confidence.
The whole package.
This is great. I'm learning so much.
Me too. It's fascinating to see how all these elements work together.
And I'm sure there's so much more to unpack.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
There is. We'll delve deeper into all of these aspects of consistent vocal practice after a quick break.
All right. Sounds good. We'll be right back. All right. So we're back and ready to kind of keep going with this whole consistent practice thing.
It's a fascinating topic.
We were just talking about before the break, all these benefits.
Well, the benefits are huge.
Like richer tone and more stamina, but I think it's even more than that, right?
It goes beyond just hitting the right notes.
Yeah.
It's about unlocking this whole other level of vocal freedom.
So it's
when you're consistent,
that's hitting the note.
You're not just singing the song.
Yeah.
You're embodying it. You can tap into that emotional depth.
Like the difference between reading lines from a script.
Exactly.
And becoming the character.
It's like you're living and breathing the music.
Yeah, and consistent practice helps us
It bridges that gap.
So we're moving beyond just the technical exercises.
It's more than just technique.
And into
It's about artistry.
more artistry. And the source actually talks about this
Yeah, what's that?
idea of how consistent singing can actually reduce vocal strain.
Oh, absolutely. Have you noticed that?
Now that you mention it, I have noticed that
Yeah.
when I'm practicing consistently, my voice feels
Less fatigued.
less fatigued.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's because you're building strength in those vocal cords.
So we're training them.
You're training them.
Like an athlete, right?
Just like an athlete trains their muscles.
Yeah, so it's not just about avoiding strain.
Right.
It's about
It's about making it more enjoyable.
making practice
Yes.
and performance more enjoyable.
More effortless, more fun.
And you know what? I feel like there's also this
What's that?
confidence boost too.
Oh, huge confidence boost.
When you're practicing consistently,
Yeah.
you get up on stage or you get in the recording booth and it's
You know your voice is going to be there for you.
I'm not worried.
No more second guessing.
You're not
Just pure confidence and expression.
yeah, oh, is my voice gonna crack? Or,
You're not fighting your instrument.
am I gonna hit that note?
You're collaborating with it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But, let's be real. There are days when our voices are just
Oh, absolutely.
oh,
We all have those days.
the
when you're
fluid
tired,
stress.
stressed, maybe fighting a cold.
Maybe you've got a cold.
Those days happen.
And the source acknowledges this, right?
It does. It reminds us that even on those off days,
Okay, good.
that muscle memory we've been talking about is still there to support you.
So it's like a safety net.
A backup.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
okay, I might not be feeling my best, but I've got this foundation.
You've got that foundation to fall back on. Yeah, that's reassuring. So it's about trusting the process.
Trust the process. Keep showing up.
Yeah.
Even when it feels challenging.
Showing up for yourself.
Yes.
Yeah. And it's not always linear, right? Like,
Progress isn't always a straight line.
some days are good.
But if you stay
Some
committed,
days are bad.
you will see results.
You know, this reminds me of what we were saying earlier about that
With that,
feeling of freedom, like riding a bike without training wheels.
it's like, yes, that feeling of liberation
You've built up that consistency.
without being able to express yourself authentically,
Yeah.
even when you're not feeling 100%.
And then
Exactly.
you know,
And you know what I love about consistent practice?
what's that?
It unlocks this level of freedom
Oh, okay.
and expression that wouldn't be possible otherwise.
So, I mean, what does this all mean
Right.
for our listeners, right? Like,
That's a great question. What's the takeaway here?
takeaway.
The takeaway is that consistent practice
Oh.
is the key to unlocking your full vocal potential.
So we're talking about like
It's a commitment to showing up for yourself and your voice
Yeah.
day after day.
Okay.
The rewards are well worth the effort, trust me.
All right.
You'll gain consistency, confidence, and that ability to express yourself with more freedom and artistry than ever before.
We're not just
That's it.
building like vocal strength.
Yes.
We're building mental
You're building mental resilience.
resilience.
You're building confidence. You're building artistry.
And I think it's important to remember that, you know, consistency is
Yeah.
not a destination.
Not a destination.
It's about embracing the process, celebrating those small wins,
Yeah.
learning from the challenges along the way.
It's not about perfection.
No, not at all.
It's about
It's about progress.
progress.
Yeah.
So to recap,
Yeah, okay. Okay, let's recap.
we started with the importance of purposeful warm-ups
Yes. Humming and lip trills.
to activate those vocal cords and get that breath support going.
Lip trills.
Mhm.
Then we explored
Oh.
vowel modification.
Vowel modification, a powerful technique.
A technique that
We might have to dedicate a whole deep dive to that one.
need to
Let's come back to
come back to.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then we talked about how recording ourselves during practice
Yes.
can help us identify areas for improvement.
It's like having that objective feedback
Oh, it's
right there in your hand.
Cool.
It is a tool.
And we also,
Let's
you know, talked about finding that balance
Yes, finding that balance.
between focused practice and letting go during performance.
Trusting your training, letting the emotions flow.
Trusting your training.
It's magical.
Yeah. And then, of course, all those benefits. Richer tone,
Yes.
more stamina,
More stamina.
less strain, more confidence.
Confidence is everything.
Wow, this has been really enlightening. It's amazing how, like,
I know, right?
something so simple
It's fascinating how such a simple thing
as consistent practice
as consistent practice can have such a huge impact.
can really transform
Transformative
your voice, but also, like,
on your voice, on your confidence, on your overall artistry.
the confidence as a singer.
Absolutely.
This is great.
I'm glad you're enjoying it.
I'm learning a lot.
Me too. Always learning something new.
And as we kind of wrap up
Okay.
this deep dive,
Yeah.
I feel like there's one final thought that you wanted to
Yeah. I want to leave our listener with something to ponder.
leave our listener with. What is it?
Okay. Think about this. What's one small change you can make in your vocal practice today
Okay.
to start building that autopilot for consistent singing?
Wow, that's a really
It's a good question, right?
good question. Yeah, it makes you think about, like,
Yeah, it's about taking action.
okay, what can I
It doesn't have to be this huge, overwhelming change.
actually do? Yeah,
Start small.
like, it doesn't have to be this big.
Exactly. Maybe you commit to a daily warm-up,
Crazy thing.
even if it's just for 5 minutes.
5 minutes. Okay.
Or you add one new vocal exercise to your routine.
Okay.
Or maybe you just block out 15 minutes every day, dedicated practice time.
a little bit at a time.
A little bit goes a long way.
And it's like we were saying before, it's about, you know,
It's about consistency.
consistency, building that habit.
Building that habit is key. And, you know, the source makes a great point about how consistent practice isn't just about refining your technique.
Mm-hmm.
It's about reshaping your vocal identity.
Oh, wow. So it's like
You're not just hitting the notes.
you're not just, hitting the notes.
You're expressing yourself more authentically.
You're finding more nuance.
Your true voice.
Exactly. That's beautifully said.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So as we wrap up,
As we wrap up this deep dive into consistent singing.
I want to encourage you to explore, experiment, and discover your own path to vocal mastery.
Oh.
There's no one-size-fits-all approach, you know?
So it's about finding
It works for one singer.
what works for you.
Might not work for another.
Yeah. And remembering that, you know,
It's about finding what resonates with you and your voice.
The journey is just as important as the destination.
Absolutely. The journey is where the growth happens.
All right. Well, thank you so much for joining us for this.
Embrace the process, the
I am.
challenges, the victories. It's all part of the journey.
Deep dive into vocal consistency. Until next time, keep singing, keep exploring, and keep pushing those boundaries. We'll see you in the next deep dive.